Hey friends, welcome back. I wanted to vlog, and since I am new to vlogging, I want to vlog to get better, to get used to it, and all that jazz. And I'm reading a new spicy novel, which is fantasy romance, my next foray after loving the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I thought I would jump into this one because everyone recommends reading this book and this series after Court of Thorns and Roses because apparently it's just like so amazing. So of course I have it, and I'm buddy reading this with Kristen at Green Tea Book Me on Instagram. She has an Instagram handle, so I'll link her down below. And so reading this together, and I just thought, like, why not vlog it? I mean, watching people read books you love is so much fun, and I've had so much fun watching other people's vlogs on like books that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So this is one for me. And of course I am reading from Blood and Ash by Jennifer L Armentrout. I started this last night and I read about like 70 pages. And let me tell you, is this what I'm missing out as like a non-romance reader? All like the dirty, smutty scenes. I didn't think that they could be so fun. And now I'm like, I'm not sure what to think, and I feel like I've been missing out and y'all have been holding out on me. So I'm really excited for this. There was definitely some like light smut in this book already, and it caught me off guard, and I was like, holy, all right, I just want more of that. So I'm still reading through this. I'm still super in the beginning. I do have some hesitations just based on the synopsis. I'm a little afraid that this is going to be one of those damsel in distress books, and I don't love a damsel in distress. No matter how hot the guy is, I'm never going to be able to relate to the heroine or to the main female lead if she's always in distress and needing to be saved. The one thing that's making me think that probably not is because she knows how to use a dagger and she's been trained. So at least she knows how to defend herself. However, she is a maiden, so she's a total virgin, really inexperienced. So anything that happens to her in a sexual romantic fashion is kind of exciting because she has no idea what to do, which kind of is unrelatable, especially because obviously reading this, that's not me. I can't relate to that, but it's really interesting and it makes it very steamy. So we've already met Hawk in this book, and I'm here for it. He seems like someone I could be very interested in and someone I really want to keep reading about. And then of course, obviously, this is going to be a spoiler-filled vlog. I'm going to put that in the title so you guys know what to expect. But don't watch this if you haven't read it because you'll get spoilers for sure. I'm starting with From Blood and Ash. I'm going to continue more of it tonight, and then if I read Kingdom of Flesh and Fire within the same time frame, then I will be vlogging about that one as well. I just got to chapter 11 and they just unveiled her. I don't know what's gonna happen. There's D&D going on in my living room, so this clip might be loud, but oh my gosh, they just unveiled her in front of Hawk, and I haven't turned the page yet. I just, like, nothing's gonna happen, I'm sure, but I'm just like, oh my god, they unveiled her? And I also ordered boba, so I'm excited for boba and more Hawk and Poppy. So I'm about 100 pages further into the book than I was last time I spoke to y'all. It has been great. I think it's been kind of like a slower, more slow burn start, but I don't hate it because apparently after like 175, 200 pages, things start getting really fast paced. So I'm here for it. I'm here for Hawk, even though like I love him, but I kind of hate him a little bit too. So boba is here. And Jennifer L Armentrout really made me wait 240 pages before Hawk figured out that Poppy was the maiden and that he had already met her at the Red Pearl. But honestly, best reveal. best reveal to have her like reveal it as this like badass, which I love because I've been really worried that this book is gonna be about a damsel in distress and she might be a virgin, but she ain't no damsel. So I'm really happy about that. I'm really excited for the next chapter because I literally stopped myself to take an update right as soon as he said princess. And I was like, ooh, princess. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I don't know if I'm gonna like love this book. I'm loving it right now. But I don't know if it's gonna be a 5 stars, but we'll see. I'm loving it though. So stay tuned. So I've read like 200 pages more of this beauty, and excuse the look. I just got done at the gym. I just got done eating breakfast. I'm wearing a very stolen Black Panther shirt, which will never go back to its owner because it's mine now. And I'm sure when he watches this, I'm either going to get a very crazed phone call or a squeal from the other room if he's here demanding to know its whereabouts. However, it will never be found again. I have hidden it. It's mine. Don't worry about it. Plus, I mean, it looks way better on me. Let's be honest. It looks so much better on me. But anyways, I finished about 200 more pages or 300 more pages of From Blood and Ash. We have gotten to the points where Poppy and Hawk are getting it on. And it's been interesting, I think, for me, because Poppy is a virgin and this is her first time experiencing all these things, and she's describing them in such an interesting way. I also find it kind of hard to relate to like an adult who is a virgin and who's experiencing these things for the first time. Although I do have to say, I do like Hawk. I think he's like very bantery. It's very realistic that he's gonna like go for it and not try to be like the humble, like, oh, I shouldn't type of guard. I also am really intrigued by Poppy's power. I'm really surprised by her power. I have to say, I feel like it's evolving. The more that she evolves as a person or sexually, and she explores herself and the world around her, I feel like her power expands. So that parallel in the book is really interesting to read. I'm really intrigued by that, so that's really cool. I'm also really intrigued by Hawk and his backstory and his brother and his friend that give him like this sadness. And I kind of wonder if like Hawk is like kind of partly evil or working with the prince, like the dark prince or whatever. And I'm kind of wondering like what ascension means. I love the like soft vampire references, and I have a feeling that ascension just means that you get like turned into a vampire willingly versus like attacked and turned into a craven. It's really an interesting story, and I feel like someone probably told me that it was vampire vibes, but it didn't click until I started reading the story. So I will definitely be reading the second one of this as soon as I finish this one, because I heard that it's even spicier. I did hear from some folks that book 2 is kind of boring, but then other folks clarified that it's just more character driven and that you spend more time with the characters than actually having a really concrete plot. So still something that I'm excited to and looking forward to reading, but I'm glad that it was clarified to me because I was worried there for a second. So I'll be vlogging that book in this vlog too, just in case there was any confusion. And then I'm sure once I finish these 2 books, I'll pre-order the 3rd one. And I'll be on that bandwagon with y'all. So let me know if you have any similar experiences with this beauty and what you thought as you read along. I kind of am trying to not binge it so hard and give my thoughts as I go. But of course it's hard because we've gotten to the point where all I want to do is binge, and I'm buddy reading it with Kristen, so she's reading it and giving me like her updates and being like, oh my god, chapter X is so good, or like, oh, you have to get to chapter X because I need to talk to you about it. So buddy reads are always fun, but it's definitely making me go through it even faster. Stay tuned for another check-in later tonight. Hey friends, so I finished From Blood and Ash, and boy was that a ride. Honestly, the last like 200 pages are just so action-packed, and the entire world and plot and everything like that are just so interesting, and I had the best time. I love Hawk, who is now the dark one, which I kind of had a feeling was coming, so it wasn't too much of a surprise. I was just waiting to see how it was going to be unveiled. I also laughed at the end because I'm like, what? He doesn't like traditional things and then he announces that? Or at least I took it as he doesn't like traditional things. And the steamy scene towards the end, I was like, man. I mean, y'all, I haven't been a virgin for a very long time, so Poppy's character is a little hard for me to relate to, but I enjoyed that like more steamy, more like adult, more experienced scene in the end of the book, so that was great. I hear it only gets better in the second book, even with slower parts, so that makes me happy. I have to say, I'm loving the way the world is expanding. I'm loving the way we're learning more about all these things that seemed so mysterious at the beginning. And I love that we learned more about Poppy's heritage. Even though it's still kind of mysterious, I'm enjoying learning about all these little magical loopholes and magical beings. And I'm hoping we learn more about that in the next book, which apparently is more character driven, which I'm excited about because I'm wondering how I'll enjoy it, even though there are slower parts. So I'm gonna start that tonight when I get back home. But otherwise, it was a really fun ride, and I feel like by Friday, Saturday, I'll have already finished these 2 books, and then I'm gonna start the painful wait for the 3rd book that comes out on like the 20th or something of April. So not excited for that, but excited for Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. It is the nighttime and I am like 100 pages into this book now, and it's really interesting. Actually, I'm liking it. I don't love Poppy's inner monologues because she tends to just go on and on and on, and I wish that there was less of that, but I do enjoy the interactions between Poppy and Hawk. I enjoy watching them get to know each other better. I'm enjoying the mental sparring, and then the actual sparring is really fun too. So it's been really fun to read this. I'll probably read a little bit more before going to bed, but I'm pretty pooped. I got back earlier from a night out with a friend. We went for some outdoor drinks in this little greenhouse private space area, so we were safe. But I got back and I got a package. I got the Final Empire trilogy. I'm really excited about that one. And yeah, I've just been reading all night, so I'm gonna continue reading, seeing what this second book is about. Apparently it is even steamier than the first one, and that's exciting. I know that there is less plot, or it's less plot driven than the first one, which I'm okay with, because if it's Poppy and Hawk getting to know each other and Poppy just getting to know her like new life from here on out, that's pretty interesting to me, and I'm sure it sets up the 3rd one really nicely. I'm just really enjoying it, so I'm excited for all that. I'm excited for the sexy scenes. I'm excited to discover more about everything, and there are just so many questions in my mind, and I need them answered. Hey friends, it is the next day. I read more of Kingdom of Flesh and Fire last night, and I read some today. I woke up a little bit ago, read a little bit, and then I started working, so that's where I'm at today. I'm itching to read more. This book, I've been told, and I've also been discovering, it's a little more character driven and like world building driven. So in the first book, like, we're obviously very naive to the world and the fact that there's like Wolven and Craven and everything like that. But in this book, we're learning all the different bloodlines and about Atlantia, and we get a map in this book too, which I freaking love the map. I am loving the world building. I love that the world is expanding. That's usually one of my favorite things in like the sequels or in the rest of the series, is when the world expands. So that's been really exciting. So I just finished chapter 13, and so far Poppy has agreed to marry Castile. She's kind of understanding where he's coming from, and she's learned a little bit about his time being captive Atlantean for the Ascended. So that was really interesting, and just hearing how long he's been searching for his brother has been really interesting, and how he's supposed to be king. And she was really shocked to hear that. We've met Alistair, who I personally love. I love that like father figure character who's like ultra supportive in books, and he's definitely that person for Castile and Kieran. I think I'm pronouncing his name Kieran. We learned that Kieran and Castile were bonded in birth or at birth, which is really interesting. I'm excited to learn more about the bond and how they're bonded. And then they also mentioned that with the marriage, there's a bond that needs to happen as well. And that's really interesting because it reminds me of the mates thing for aKoTar. And I'm also getting some like Phazan vibes with Castile and Poppy, just that like aKoFaF Phazan thing happening for the second book, which is really fun to read. I'm loving the banter. Loving the banter. Alistair has just told us about Shay and Castile and like how she was his first love, and how there's that wound as well, which we didn't know anything about. We did know, I think, that he had been in love before because he told us that in the first book. So I'm just really loving Castile or Hawk in this book. It's really interesting to see like all of his history and all of his trauma and all of the ties he's making and who he is now, and the people around him that really care about him, and also how the world is working. So I'm excited to dive in to more. We'll see what happens. I feel like after dinner tonight, I'm gonna spend all of tonight reading. So very excited for this. Hey y'all, I am so tired. I've just been sitting here reading Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, and I just finished chapter 26. I thought it was a good place to stop because it has been a long day. I'm trying to read this book, and it's honestly, it's so good. Oh my god, I love it more than probably the first one. I like the first one. It was like a solid like 4.5 stars for me, but this one I think is probably gonna be a 5 stars. It's so good. The world is opening up. We're learning more about Atlantia, about the magic, about the bonds, about the people, about the history, and it's just so much more interesting that way. There's not a ton of action. I mean, there's action, but there's not a ton of like super action, and the plot right now is like lingering a little bit, so I understand when people say that they're kind of bored with this book, but I'm not bored at all. It's taking me longer to read, I think, because I'm just absorbing so much information, but oh my god, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I also kind of low-key wonder if Sarah J Maas and Jennifer L Armentrout like talk. Do they know each other? Do they talk about their books? Because these characters, man, like, I love them so much. It's so good. We just learned about the joining, and we learned about the heartmates thing, and I'm such a weird sucker for a good like mate trope. I love that shit. I love the mate trope. I know it's gimmicky and it's probably overused, but I freaking love it so much. So I'm excited to see what happens. Poppy's finally expressing that she cares, and Castile just fed from her, so that's good, and I'm wondering what's gonna happen next, but I'm also so sleepy. It's been such a long day, but I'm excited to read more of this and see where it goes, and I'm excited about the third one that's coming out in a few weeks, so I'm glad that I read them now and not earlier, because it's been so fun to find another series that I like, and another series where books are coming out more often, and it's just so amazing. I'm so excited. I'll see you guys later. I can't even remember what my last update was about. I just don't even remember, but I'm getting deeper into the book. They just got married, the joining, the heartmates, the bond, everything has been like explained, and it's so interesting. It's also interesting that we're getting all these like godly omens. I never thought that it was so gods focused, I guess, because I guess the first book wasn't, because it's not for the Ascended. So That makes sense, but I'm hoping to finish the book in the next little while. I just want to see what happens. I'm prepared to be like totally annihilated and just really impatiently waiting the third book, because apparently it's easier to stop after the first one than it is to stop after the second one. But I'm enjoying this one like so much more than the first one. The first one was amazing, don't get me wrong. It was a really good book, but I love the second one. It's just an explosion of everything that I've ever wanted to know in this world. And I'm having so much fun learning. I'm so happy that Poppy and Castile have already said that they love each other and they got married and it's like real now and they're not pretending anymore. I also love that Poppy doesn't let herself be like this like little liability, that she's like, no, I'm an asset, you know, his problem with being distracted is his problem, not mine. Like, I can handle my own. And then she never stops fighting for herself and like fighting for her right to be there. I'm just in awe of how amazingly brave that is. So I truly love that. And I'm really starting to like Poppy even more. I always liked Poppy, but I always felt like being a little bit of like a maiden damsel, sexually inexperienced, made me not relate to her as much, but I really do like her more now that she's like growing into herself. I'm very intrigued about these like powers that she's having and why she keeps like zapping everyone and why she's glowing and why she can heal and feel emotions and things beyond what they thought. So I'm very curious. And it was also just revealed that the queen is her grandma, so that's really something. And I'm wondering now if the queen is an Atlantean and that there's way more to this than we thought. And like just the layers that this book peels back are just, they're so good. I have loved every second of it. So we'll probably get another update once I finish the book and have a chance to digest my thoughts and feelings for it. So in my last update, y'all would have heard of me talking about Kingdom of Flesh and Fire and how I was right in the middle of it. So ever since that day, I honestly ended up binge reading the last like 200-300 pages in like one sitting that afternoon. And it was amazing. I just really needed to get it read. I needed to pause because life things, and I was late for a couple of them. That's okay. But I ended up reading it and it was really good. I mean, the last half of the second book is just absolutely action-packed. I almost want to reread parts of it before the third book come out because I feel like I read it in one sitting and I didn't completely absorb everything. But what I can tell you is that the ending is really jarring and it leaves you with a lot of questions, like when they ended and she killed all those Atlanteans by like taking their hatred and then spewing it right back out at them, and they all died, and then the queen and the king and Prince Castile came and they were like awestruck and everyone was like, oh my gosh, realizing what had happened and bowing to her and calling her the new queen. I was left with a lot of questions. I was like, shit, you know, like I don't want this to be bad for her, and especially not for her and like Castile. I don't want them to break up because she's all of a sudden like more powerful than he is, which I love the twist of her being more powerful than he is. I love that because that rarely happens in novels where the female is more powerful than the male. I don't see that often. Either they're equal or the male is more powerful and he's protecting his woman, which those stories are good too. Nothing wrong with them, but it's cool to see that. I don't see that often and I really like that. I did read the first 3 chapters of the third book because that teaser was out and a friend sent it to me. So I think it's available publicly and you can find it and like get it downloaded. So I read those, and it does answer a few of my burning questions. So waiting for April 20th for the third book to come out is not as unbearable as I was originally anticipating, and that's a relief. I am still excited, and I'm really wondering what's gonna happen in book 3. I know this is gonna be a series, so it's gonna be longer than 3 books, and there isn't gonna be another book released this year. Generally, I think she releases every 6 months, but she's not releasing another one this year, so I think we're gonna have to wait till next year. But a spin-off series of that world is releasing later on this year, so we might get a taste of the world while we wait for the ones in this series, but it just won't be about Poppy and Hawk, and I'm sad. about that. As such, I hope that book 3 gives me all that I need in order to wait and doesn't like make it unbearable for the next year. Let's hope so. But I loved Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I feel like I'm still absorbing things and I still want to go back and reread things and parts and things that I don't want to forget. There's a few theories that I have floating around in my mind. I feel like she doesn't necessarily need to be queen. She could just live happily ever after with Hawk in this amazing world and not have to be queen, but I feel like her being queen is going to be somewhat inevitable. Let's just see what that brings. I'm really intrigued. Let me know if y'all have enjoyed these 2 books. Which one was your favorite? For me, definitely Kingdom of Flesh and Fire was my favorite. It's kind of like the Court of Mist and Fury of the series. Like, so much more happens, and it is a slow burning, more character driven book, but so much more happens for the couple, so much more happens for the world. It kind of explodes, just like in Court of Mist and Fury. So I kind of feel like it's going to be the aKoFaF of this series. Maybe other books will replace it as they come out, but so far I'm like, yeah, okay. I think I like middle books better than debut novels. I think I've ascertained that after reading all these series. So let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know which one you loved better. Let me know if you're excited for the 3rd one to come out. If you've read the 3 teaser chapters, I would love to discuss that with you. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below. I hope that you enjoyed this vlog and stay tuned for more.